Welcome back. We're about an hour away from the opening bell on Wall Street. We're looking at a pretty good gain at the start of trading this morning. Dow Industrials up 740 points. That's off of the highs, though. Deirdre Bolton is on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange this morning looking at the whiplash. Deirdre.
Yeah, whiplash, especially after yesterday's session, of course, Maria, but green on the screens, as you mentioned, but futures off their highs of the morning. I want to highlight a few things that traders here are talking about already ahead of the start of the trading day. President Trump, we know, expected to meet with some of his advisors at 5:30. So traders are talking about, okay, maybe there will be some form of stimulus that comes through. We know at least on the table for discussion, a meeting about a payroll tax cut is one possibility. None of this has been confirmed yet, and perhaps a short-term extension of sick leave. Now, we're also going to be watching three key sectors, Maria: airlines, cruise operators, and hotels. Arguably, these have been three of the groups hit the hardest by the coronavirus outbreak. So all of these sectors, of course, need support. It is unclear if they will get support at all, and if it comes through, in what form. But that is very much the conversation on the floor pre-market here today. Want to make a quick note, rather, on Delta as part of that airlines theme. The company announcing this morning that it is cutting capacity. It says liquidity is fine, long story short, but I just want to give you more details on the capacity cuts. So for international, is cutting capacity by 20 to 25%. Domestic flights at 10 to 15%. This is not a huge surprise. I've been speaking with people who have still been traveling for work, and they say they feel like they are getting airplanes to themselves when they are traveling. So not a huge surprise that Delta is going to cut down, along with some of the other airline companies, on those flights. Doesn't make sense to run them if there's 3 passengers. Quick note on Dick's. This is likely to be a standout stock in today's session. The company exceeding earnings expectations, so you have it moving higher pre-market. And then an additional announcement from the company: it is pulling its hunting gear line. Maria, back to you.
All right, Deirdre, thank you. What a market. Deirdre, we will talk with you later. Meanwhile, there's several conservative leaders calling for a censure of Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Cheryl Casoni with the details there. Cheryl.
That's right, Maria. So Schumer has been under fire since allegedly threatening Supreme Court Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh during an abortion rights rally last week. Former Senator Jim DeMint, Reagan advisor Ed Rollins, Louisiana AG Jeff Landry, and Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk all signed the open letter. They say that Schumer's remarks were inappropriate and they were dangerous. CVS is taking an extra step amid the coronavirus outbreak by waiving prescription home delivery fees in order to help higher-risk patients who need to stay home. Aetna will also waive early refill limits on 30-day prescriptions to those who have pharmacy benefits through CVS Caremark. CDC is warning older Americans and those with weakened immune systems to stay inside. Well, SoulCycle looking to make Peloton feel the burn. The company is releasing its long-awaited home fitness bike. Select markets can pre-order the bike for $2,500. That begins this Friday. The company also offering a $40 streaming service that includes fitness classes from SoulCycle and Pure Yoga and Equinox, all the same company, remember. Finally, there is this: a popular Sesame Street character is helping to spread the word about the census and being counted.
Ah, the census, my favorite time of the decade.
Census? What's that?
Oh, it is a special time when we count each person in every home in all the neighborhoods across the country.
This and other PSAs starring The Count started airing earlier this week in both English and Spanish. According to researchers, children under 5 were the most undercounted age group in the last census. We only do this every 10 years, Maria. Back to you.
I love The Count. Thanks so much, Cheryl. Well, it is a critical day for 2020. Voters in 6 states headed to the polls with 352 delegates up for grabs. This day could potentially decide the Democratic nominee for president. Joining us right now is former economic advisor to President Obama. He is 32 Advisors founder and CEO, and a Fox News contributor, Robert Wolf. Robert, great to see you.
Great to see you guys.
How important, first let's do primaries, how important is today in terms of who becomes the nominee?
I mean, I think it's incredibly important, but it will just show that there's still Joe-mentum, as we're calling it. He's going to win Mississippi, Michigan, and Missouri. Washington State will possibly go to Bernie. But it's clear to me he's going to be the nominee, and I think it's going to be a Trump-Biden matchup, and I think, strap it in. I think it's going to be some interesting 6 months.
Strap it in. All right, look, we got to get your take on what's being talked about in Washington. So the president wants to do away with the payroll tax tax for 90 days, possibly until the end of the year. 15% tax, 7.5% paid by workers. It's going to be $100 billion a month. You like it?
Here's what I like. I like that last night the president came out and he exuded confidence. I've been critical on him on the coronavirus, policies. Number two, I like the idea of a stimulus plan. I was very clear yesterday on Fox. This is not like the Lehman crisis, which I was one of the executives there when I was running UBS. This is more like post-SEP 11. This is something that's not about liquidity and leverage. It's about stimulating certain sectors that are being hit by a very one-off situation. I like the idea that he's talking about hotels, travel and leisure, all the things that are really being hit. I also like the idea that he talked about small business loans. I think our energy companies are going to need those type of loans, especially middle and smaller enterprises. I love the idea of a paid leave, making sure. I'm nervous about a payroll tax for two reasons. And usually I would be supportive of that. But in this instance, the reason I'm not is two reasons. One, I don't think it will get passed. Number two, I think it trickles out. You get a payroll tax over, each paycheck every 2 weeks. And I think that it's just not going to do anything to stimulate. I'm much more, and I know we've argued about this, picking winners and losers. So be it. Sometimes you got to pick winners and losers. We have to help those sectors that really got hurt by this one-off situation, which was not caused by us. It was caused by China. And I think that the president has to do two things that he did last night. He has to exude confidence, and I think that's with letting Dr. Fauci speak the most and staying off Twitter. And he's got to get Congress to make sure that they approve certain stimulus, and those ones that would be very tactical. This is, Maria, you and I spoke about this for 25 plus years.
Yep,
this is where Congress will actually support certain tactical stimulus. I don't think you're going to get a payroll tax approved.
Isn't it too soon, though, to know what is needed, what might be needed? I mean, you're talking about really targeted measures, but this just started. We don't know how long it's going to go on for. Maybe it'll fizzle out quickly, maybe it won't.
But we know the airlines are having a tough time.
Here's why I think it's not too soon. I think there's a high possibility we're going to go into a recession the second half of the year. That doesn't mean that our country is in a recession because of the policies. We're in a recession because China's in a recession, Italy's in a recession, Pan-Europe's going to be in a recession. We're a global country, a global economy, and so we also are going to be hit by that. We can't just duck, dodge, and hide. There's not a moat around the United States. So yes, I think because of that, you have to do things quickly, and you don't wait. If you look at the prediction markets, they're talking about 65% of a recession. I'm not one of those that is hoping for a recession for an election. I never hope for a recession. But I think you have to be ahead of it. You don't wait for it.
But President Trump is already getting criticism. Oh, look, the hotel industry. Yeah. Of course he's going to bail out leisure and hospitality. But you say it's warranted. These industries, it's energy because of the collapse in prices and the war overpriced between Russia and Saudi Arabia, but also hotels, airlines, and other leisure companies.
Listen, when I met with Bush 43 and when I met with Obama, okay, it didn't make a difference what politics we were on. This is about totally different. I won't swear. I don't give a rat's about whether he owns a hotel or not. We should look at the three industries that are being hit. We also have to look at the energy. We're getting hammered right now. My view is a bit of a conspiracy theorist, which I never am. But this Russia-China thing is real.
What I said yesterday.
Okay, let's not kid ourselves. China, they're hurting, lowering oil prices. They're the largest importer in the world, 75% of the imports. They're going to buy at a 25% discount. It helps them. It helps Russia. It hurts us. It hurts us in industrial America with shale and fracking. It hurts us in Texas.
And Russia wants to shut down the shale industry in America.
My opinion is we have to protect our own castle. So we have to do these things. We have to do it quickly. I disagree with the payroll tax. That's going to be a political...
It's also it's gigantic.
It's going to be costly.
It's just not happening.
It's 4% of GDP. But on the oil issue, this is also a national security issue, which certainly we've highlighted here in recent years.
We've talked about it. I mean, we've talked about it when oil's high, when the oil's low. Remember, oil is project finance based. Okay, these project finances are, for the most part, defaulted now. Yeah. And so we're in a situation at 40 plus a barrel, it works.
Remember during the 2007 crisis, 2008 financial crisis, when America was on its knees, and there were reports that it's actually, this is actually in Treasury Secretary, the Treasury Secretary's book at the time, actually.
Is it Geithner?
Paulson, Hank Paulson's book. So
I mean, Paulson was, he was the...
It was Hank Paulson as Treasury Secretary. He wrote a book, and in the book he wrote that at that time, China was talking to Russia to come up with ways to just kill America. They were on its knees. So Russia calls, Putin calls the head of China and said, let's start selling some of the securities that we own now, the bonds now. This will really turn them on their, while they're on their knees. That's what Russia's trying to do again. Coming at us with this, saying we're not going to cut production, creating this, constant, huge, sell-off in oil right at the time that coronavirus has hit.
So to me, there's two different lanes we have to focus on. The coronavirus, obviously getting testing and make sure that it doesn't spread and so on and so forth. But those being hit by that is one thing. Then you have the energy aspect. Though we have to stay energy independent. I may disagree with President Trump that we should have an all-in energy process. I believe in renewables and things like that. That being said, today, it's politics aside. We should be able to do the lending to these middle-tier enterprises. I'm glad he's sitting with the banks, but it really has nothing to do with Wall Street.
Well, he's going to talk to the banks tomorrow, the Wall Street CEOs. Look, what would you have said if you were one of those CEOs going to the White House when you were running UBS, when you see interest rates where they are? I mean, what kind of an impact is this going to have on the banks, these interest rates, below 0.5% on the 10-year?
Let's be clear, banks are going to be hurting this, right? Their net interest margin are going to be decimated, right, with rates at 0, and they're the largest lenders to energy. But this is not about a banking system issue. Our banks are incredibly strong. They've delevered from 35 to 40 times down to 15. If you look at their risk capital, they have plenty. This is not a banking issue at all. They're going to have tough margins.
And the Fed's cutting more in about a week.
See, I don't think this is about the Fed at all. And I said this 10 days ago on Twitter, although usually I just get trolled. But
I agree with you.
But this is not a Fed. This is not a tool.
You think they shouldn't cut?
I don't think it makes a difference. No one's changing their habits whether rates are at 0 or 50 basis points. We need to make sure we're taking care of the industries to regain confidence. We have no idea when these industries are going to come back. So let's take care of them. These are American industries. We have to make sure we protect ourselves. I think we have to go, in my opinion, if I was sitting with the president, and I know Larry Kudlow very well, I would be sitting down. I would move away from worrying about the stock market.
Real surgical.
Come up
Real surgical.
Very surgical.
Go right into the
And I think the Democrats and the Republicans have to get on board. You can't ignore, what's happening.
Well, Robert, it's always great to get your insights.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Robert Wolf joining us there. Let's head over to Studio B. Varney Company host Stuart Varney preparing for his show, Top of the Hour. Going to be a different open today, Stu.
That is very true, actually. Yes. Up about 600 points today after a 2,000-point drop. We'll take it, Maria. We'll definitely take it. I think this is Bernie's last stand, by the way. Loads of primaries today, in particular Michigan. Bernie has to win. And I don't think he does win. I think he loses badly. And that's going to be a real problem for the Democrats because they will be left with Joe Biden, for whom there is little enthusiasm and who makes constant gaffes. And Bernie did it to himself. I mean, his policies have been exposed. Lunatic Green New Deal, crazy tax hikes, no idea what to do with the economy going forward. That's really weak, but I think he's out of the picture after today. Probably good news for investors. At least we don't have to worry about a socialist in the White House any longer. But the Democrats, badly split, geared towards a guy who's 77-year-old, unfocused, gaffe-prone. I think it's going to be a good day for President Trump and the Republicans, frankly, Maria.
Well, we'll see. Stu, I know you'll have a lot about it at the top of the hour. We will see you then. Stuart and Varney Company begins in about 10 minutes' time. Don't miss it.